Hi, Dr. B here. Welcome to Dr. B Uncensored, where we interview candid thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and founders to tell their story to aspire and inspire others to do the same. Hopefully, you enjoyed this episode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. B Show. I'm here with the great David Cinelli. David, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Recording this holiday time, and who knows when it'll air, but it'll air soon. So happy
That's why
holidays.
I was gonna warn people. Like we had a holiday party last night. But I don't think I got home till like 3 or 4 o'clock. I got like 3, 4 hours of sleep. So if my eyes look a little tired, I apologize for that in advance.
All good, man. Let's jump right into it. Tell everyone about yourself.
Well, my name is David Cinelli or Cinelli, depending on how you say it. When I was a hockey player as a kid, I said Cinelli, but I had a background when I was an analyst. I had my boss told me, goes, the proper way of saying it in Italian is Cinelli, never say it any other way. So it's funny because my wife goes by Cinelli, I go by Cinelli. So when people talk, I'm like, did you change your name? So anyway, that's I'm a Toronto-based realtor. I've been doing this for almost 11 years. I've owned rental properties for about 20, 21 years. I got into that basically when after my MBA and trying to play around, bounce around playing pro. Just when I got my first big boy paycheck as an analyst, I realized how much taxes got taken out, and read a story called like read a book my brother or my sister-in-law gave it to me called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think you've heard of that before, and it really changed my mindset and how to look. And I realized what my dad was doing all those years. He was the rich dad, even though we were cash poor, like, but we were asset rich. And it was kind of like, so he kind of set me up with we went in and bought a sixplex, which I still own to this day, and kind of started the love for it. But I was an analyst for about, like, 10 years. I got packaged out, and next thing you know, I'll cut it really short because there's a lot into that. But I ended up getting my license, even though I didn't want to be a realtor because I had so many bad experiences buying and selling with properties here in Toronto. But I kind of made it, about my third course, I kind of made a dedication to myself and to my clients, said that all the pitfalls and all the bad situations I went through, I wanted to make sure that nobody would have to go through that again. And I would help as many people as I can, as well as realtors as well. So since then, I've been, top 1% in the Toronto Real Estate Board. I've been between 1% and 2% for and nationally recognized over the last 7 years. So that's pretty cool. Even in 2021, it was the top 10 realtors in Ontario, which our province. I know you guys have states, I know, but our province is pretty big. So I was for Royal LePage, I was top 10 in the whole province. So and I was back in 2020. I was on an HGTV show. If you guys heard HG, I think you guys have HGTV in the States.
We do, we
I was
do.
a co-host. I was a co-host of a show, but I don't know if you guys saw. Did it happen to you guys in 2020? Did something funny happen in March of 2020? I don't know if it happened to
Yeah,
you
almost
guys.
shut the world down. Yep, yep.
Yeah, the world shut down.
Yeah.
Although our viewership went up, HGTV had to make a decision, and they're like, we were always a maybe of a second and third season. We were supposed to be start production, but they ended up just holding off on us. And so to this day, we're still kind of a maybe. It was a good experience. Liked it. But yeah, I'm always open for other opportunities. Anybody else, if you like what you see, you want to hire me as another HGTV show or another TV show, listen, let's go. We can show you the luxury real estate here in Toronto, or I can show you, like, even as a landlord, what the crap we go through too. Like, you name it. I do like I still do leases to this day. I tell my staff and I tell my realtors, don't say no to anything. So we're all over the map. We do everything here.
I
So
love
that's
it.
good, a little bit synopsis of what I do, of who I
I love it.
am.
I love it. What did like being on the show, or being part of that whole experience teach you, like that you take away even today?
A lot of things, honestly. Well, first off, all reality TV shows is not real. I think that is the first thing I learned. Like, it was funny because if you ever watch our show, and you can still watch it on Hulu, I think it's syndicated still in the States for you guys. Um, every single angle we've done, we had like these high angles, like we had to repeat the same stuff over and over again at different angles. So that just tells you, and it would change. So it's not in real life, right? We kind of knew that kind of going in. It was real life situations which we had to recreate. So I hope it's not like the wrestling thing when when people got, when they found out that wrestling wasn't real. It's like it's kind of similar,
You
right?
gave away the secret. No, no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I know, man. I'm sorry, man. It
Yes,
is
sir.
what it is. All those reality shows aren't very real. But what I really learned is literally things on camera. I think that was the most important things, like simple things like never wear sunglasses when you're doing it because it make you look like a bad guy. And I was like, really? I'm like you think it makes you look cool? Don't, because the audience will always resonate with you as a bad guy. So never wear sunglasses. So when I'm doing my listing videos and stuff, I never wear sunglasses. And it's funny because it's like it's not a cool thing anymore. And I watch other agents do, and I'm like, it hurts, right? I'm just like, so from the experts telling us, don't do that. And another thing is always wear shoes. I know you Americans, you guys wear shoes in your house, I think, a lot of times, right? You guys always have shoes on. Like here in Canada, like that's a faux pas. We don't do that. Like you walk in the front door, automatically your shoes come off. It's just everyone's walking around. And I remember watching Sebastian Maniscalco. Like, do you know Sebastian, the comedian?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, he's doing this whole bit about people you want me to take off my shoes? And we're all like, us Canadians are like, yeah, like that's what we do. But it looks, but when you're on camera, it looks absolutely ridiculous. You're wearing a nice suit and you have like these striped socks on or like bunnies on your socks. Or like it just looks absolutely ridiculous. So little things like that really came into handy. And then in the beginning when we were doing a lot of the videos and stuff, like sometimes you have some nervous energy. So if I have new agents that come in that I do like a listing video with, I'll kind of prep them like it's better to be natural and not have it too scripted because that comes across really as really scripted. But you want to hit some points, right? But if you're really nervous, one of the things in the beginning, if you watch the first couple episodes, I was always carrying around an iPad. And what that does is that gets your nervous energy out of like your mouth and your hands and brings it to your iPad because you're holding on to something. And then later on you can discard it once you get more comfortable with all the lights and the glimmer. But those things are just, try to be as natural as you can. Don't wear sunglasses, wear shoes in the house. And first and foremost, videos kill it out here. Like you have to do it, but have fun. Like, and I always, what HGTV said to us in the beginning was, it's like, you have a persona. And this persona, whatever it is you want to display for your audience. That's who you're going to be. So make sure you're comfortable with it, right? And like, don't say stuff you're not comfortable with. Don't do anything you wouldn't do. Don't do things just for drama, just for the sake of doing it, right? And sometimes I see people doing that, and I know HGTV was trying to get me to say a couple things which I wasn't comfortable with, like. They wanted to have something. They didn't want too much drama, but they wanted a little bit. I'll give you one example. Like on my show, I had really amazing clients. They're clients to my day, like to this day, like sweetheart. They just got married, and we got them into a property, but we had to recreate it. And in between, you ever watch like even Sirhan has that show on Netflix now, which I'm watching, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
But in
yeah.
between, they do those little interviews, right? And they'll ask you questions, and like so kind of similar like this, right? So you kind of it's B-roll, right? It's B-roll on the side. And one thing they wanted me to do is like, these guys are really good clients, but that paycheck is a big paycheck. I really want to get paid. And I'm like, if you know anything about me, I'm not motivated by money. And I said, I am absolutely not saying that. That's just so I switched things around. I'm like, I don't mind saying, listen, the paycheck would be great, but these guys are really close friends of mine, and that's more important to me. So I said the same thing, but I twisted it in the way that is actually my character, like which was not my character, my who I am, right? It's not a character, right? I don't want to do fake drama just for fake drama. So that's not me. If you want drama, no. If you want knowledge, you want to have fun, I love what I do, but I'm not going to create fake drama for you guys. Sorry. It's not going to happen.
I love it. That's awesome. That's great advice. Let's take a step back. So you've been in the business such a long time. Like, tell us about your education. Did you do a lot of schooling, or did you join a mastermind like me? Tell me a little bit about how'd you get to where you're at from an education standpoint.
Um, so I played hockey at a scholarship to University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, which I'm a goalie, right? So I was there, I was playing, and I just wanted to play 1 year of pro, just kind of bounce around, just kind of wanted to. I went to Europe and couldn't get my talent citizenship and came back, and then I was bouncing around a little couple places like in Odessa, Texas, and then I came back and went to. Was it Utah, the Quad City Mallards? I was on the team there for a bit, and like you don't want to live that lifestyle. And I was like, I'm a smart kid, I guess, so I can say that, like, but it's funny. I went to school. I didn't really have direction. I didn't know what to do. Like our life growing up was like, I don't know if you guys did this too, but Italians and immigrants, like you don't sit at home in the summertime, right? So my dad said, your job is during school. Me and my brother played on one or two hockey teams, and then like and school. That was he goes, as long as you get good grades, you can do that. You don't have to work. But as soon as that summer, as soon as that bell hits at the end of the summertime, you're working. So I started working when I was like 13, right? So it's like, so we started that kind of process. We're always used to doing that, right? So we're in that process. So anyway, like again, I just wanted to do that. But so when I came back, I played, I was bouncing around and my dad were always working, we're trying to figure out. And my dad didn't really like, I didn't have really direction, right? So I didn't know what to do. I just, all I knew I wanted to do was play hockey, try to do that, and I'll figure it out, right? So I came back, I got a business degree and a minor in math. So I have a bachelor of science degree because in Wisconsin, you like in the state school, you either did a bachelor of arts or bachelor of science. And I started off with I started off with a math degree, and I'm like, I don't want to teach. Like that's like, and it's funny now. What do I do? I basically I coach and teach other realtors, but it's different. It's different, right? But anyway, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't know, but business just made sense, and I loved it. It was great. So I had a business, so I have a BSc with a business and math degree, and when I came back, bounced around playing pro. I was coaching hockey and just as a goalie, like terrible hours. My wife and I had broken up. Like we dated before I went to university. We broke up for the 4 years I was in Wisconsin. Got back together for 8 months, and we'd grown apart. We just were fighting all the time. And I was trying to play pro. She hated it. And it was like we just we're just butting heads. It was nasty. So we broke up, and my brother ended up getting leukemia, which was right after. So I had to start talking to her and said, "Hey, like, listen, I know you don't want to talk to me, but my brother Mike, the one I played hockey with, he's sick." And then my dad actually was in the hospital now with like, well, after I had a heart attack and was basically they died on the table, brought back to life. So I had to talk to her again. And so we started our relationship again, just kind of being friendly. Um, but the funny thing is, I always say how funny things work out because if I would have gone to play pro, I had two Italian teams who wanted me to play pro hockey. I wouldn't have been able to give my brother the bone marrow because I was his donor. And it was like, it's funny how things work out that way. And it's funny how if I would have gone to in Europe, my wife and I wouldn't have been together now, right? We just kind of mended our relationship. What really put my wife at the edge before my brother and my dad got sick was that like my dad basically came to me one day and he's like, listen, this lifestyle sucks for you. Like I didn't send you to school to be a goalie coach for crying out loud. He goes, either you start paying me room and board or go back to school. And we had the kind of thing. My dad was always like said, because our job, like my brother, he paid for his undergrad, but because I had a scholarship to the States, he didn't have to pay for me to basically go to school. So he's like, but if you go back to school, I'll pay for your master's degree. And so my brother and my dad, I had bought a house back in a local, like when my brother was going to school an hour out of Toronto, in Waterloo. And my brother's like, hey, come live with me and then in the house. And I didn't tell my girlfriend, now my wife at the time. I'm like, so I only applied to one school. I'm like, what are the chances I got in? Well, I got in with a scholarship. And I'm like, by the way, I'm leaving again. She's like, I just got you back. Anyway, just it was one of the reasons why we we didn't make it out. So yeah, I ended up doing my MBA, and then after my MBA, I was an analyst, and that's where the whole thing started. From there, like when I got my dad and I bought the first property within the first couple months that that I started working as an analyst. And during that time, I was able to learn a lot of things. I was learning how to pull equity from property, how to build wealth, how to not sell properties just to build wealth, but basically, like they always say, like, you're planting trees, right? You can plant this tree, but don't cut this tree down just to plant it to build another one. You can keep this tree and nourish this one and use the fruits of that to build other properties. And you can revamp them, that you can add a lot of value. So we had a fire in 2008 and which we revamped that sixplex, which I almost tried to sell for like $850,000. Now it's worth like over 3.5 million. Thank God I didn't sell it. But based on what I was doing, I was teaching my friends and family how to do this. And they're like, I remember one time we're sitting at my uncle's cottage, we're sitting down, we're having a couple of beers. Sorry, guys, I drink beer. So we're having a couple of beers and we're shooting the shit. And like I was getting a passion about it. And like my cousins are following like, what? And then so one of them asked me, hey, can you help me out? So I showed them how to do it. And then they started buying all these properties and making more money than me. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So fast forward to 2014, my wife had left her corporate job at Guess. She was the head office area brand manager for Guess Canada, sorry, Guess International US, but she basically controlled all of Canada. But she has a really good eye. But she left to pursue her photography, and she's an amazing photographer. Now she's my stager. She has a big staging company. But as entrepreneurs, you don't get a lot of benefits. And I figured, hey, I can do the benefits. You can do that. And like, but I was kind of miserable. And So I got packaged out one by one. We all got packaged out in our treasury department. My VP was first, and then my buddy, like who was like the director, got let go. The writing was on the wall, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But what am I going to do? And we literally just sold a property like a month before I got let go. And my brother-in-law is my agent. And my wife and I basically told him what we wanted to do. Like, hey, we had to revamp the property. We're going to stage it. We're going to paint it. We're going to do this. I want you listed at 699. I want you to hold offers, do the open houses stuff. And then we sold them. We're like, well, I can do this, right? But one of the pitfalls I had when my in 2014 was that like I had so many bad realtors that I didn't want to be associated with a realtor. So I was trying to figure out how can I merge the real estate with the investments, and especially with my investment background. That's my job. I was a treasury analyst. My job was to invest the company's money. That was my job. So I do economic analysis. I'm doing pro formas. I'm talking with all the big wigs, all the big banks. So I know how to talk and I know how to do all this stuff, plus accounting, all this stuff on the side. So when I got packaged out, I said, I had 10 months to figure out what I wanted to do. And I figured I'm like, I've been helping people get into investment properties. Why don't I make a business out of that? I can help identify properties that you may not notice are investment potential properties. Like somebody could drive around a house and I'm like, that could be a sixplex, that could be this. And so I can identify those properties. The second one we can do is like if it's not set up as is with my network, I've already had 10 years of networking with my plumbers, my electricians, my contractors. So I'm like, you can use my staff or sorry, people that I know, right? And just kind of we know that we know that you're able to get what you want accomplished and not going to get taken advantage of. So you can use those two. And then if you continue to do both of those programs, so find it, fix it, we can also run it for you for 6 months for free as a property management, especially if you're a new investor, you don't know what you're doing. So like I have a sixplex, right? Like I was baptized by fire. We had so many problems. I learned so fast because of having 6 units and over 100-year-old home, everything went wrong. Everything. So you learn right away. So the best way to learn is doing it. But if you have a property manager that's there, they can teach you that. And if you want to continue the program, then fine. Well, we can start charging you after 6 months. But if you wanted to just do it yourself, you can. Again, it's up to you. So anyway, I had created a business plan and tried to figure out how to monetize this plan. And the glaring hole was obviously the realtor because with the realtor, I can start looking at properties on MLS. I can see where they're at. Like I could just identify those ones instead of saying, and then I could show my potential clients what the property is going to be, what's going to look like, and then I can make a commission on that side, which I can funnel back into the business. But I didn't want to be a realtor. Right? I didn't want to be a realtor because again, all the bad experiences. So my dad was really excited about this because he's had commercial properties since he was 20. His dad passed away when he was 16. So him and his brothers learned that, with real estate, you can make really good wealth. And that's why he's been kind of trying to teach me. But at this point, my dad didn't do the things the same way I like to. I was like he would buy a property and just let it be, right? He would just put band-aids
Buy
on it,
and
never
hold it,
re
and that's it. Right.
yeah, but I'm trying to explain to him, I'm like, Dad, you're going through all this stress because you're attracting the wrong type of tenant. If you could revamp these properties and make them really nice, you're going to attract better clientele, less headaches, and you're fixing all the problems. So you're not going to have to go fix a toilet at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to. So he's like, fine, why don't you do that? So we're like, and so we were going to do that. I started taking over some of his properties. Unfortunately, before my first exam, he died 4 days before my first exam. And one I always say is like an aha moment, which I didn't take. Like again, I'm very spiritual. I believe in God. I'm Christian, and I always say like God talks to us a certain ways, right? But I didn't want to listen to God. I wanted to do everything on my own. Like I don't want to be a realtor. I don't want to be a realtor. So my dad passes away, and it was sudden. We didn't expect it, right? He went for a walk and didn't come home. And for like 4 days straight, you're drinking and doing stuff. I remember my uncle and my aunt. I'm supposed to do my exam on the Saturday, and they're like, are you sure you want to do this? Like you can postpone this. I'm like, no, no, I'll just go in. I didn't study, I didn't do anything. And one of the aha moments was when I got my test results back, I got 100% without studying. I'm like, well, that's fine. See, like that's why I don't want to be a realtor. I was saying to myself, because it's anybody can do this. It's not true, right? And it's like, okay. Then I do my second course, or main course, and I'm helping the teacher teach the class because with my experience with all the renovations, she didn't really know about all these kind of stuff. So it was like she was making mistakes, and I put up my hand. And I'm like for something simple as like, when they're renovating a bathroom. She's talking about the drywall. This is green drywall for moisture. I'm like, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. Behind the walls, it has to be like, they have the concrete barriers. Also have to. But I was explaining, I'm like, it's not just like you're actually leading people the wrong way. So, and then she was talking about trusses, and I'm like, actually, that's not. And I started because I've been experiencing all this stuff. And then when it came to the math, she kept coming back to me and saying, "Am I doing the math right?" I was like, so, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you've been doing this for 20 years, 20 years, and now you're teaching courses and you're teaching people the wrong things. Again, so this was feeding into my ego going, Dave, you don't want to be associated with these people. They don't know what they're doing. By the time I do my third course, again, things were just kind of poking at me, poking at me. So I got like 96 or something on the second one, and then poking at me, poking at me. And finally, I came home one day. I had this aha moment. I'm like, I said to my wife, I think I'm supposed to be a realtor. She starts laughing, and she's like, it took you long enough. And I was like, well, I know I had to go through and make peace with myself, saying, because while I was in that course, I had an aha moment saying, like, listen, Dave, you went through all these bad experiences, right? But you're also helping these people to take, why don't you be a realtor and make sure nobody ever has these terrible experiences that you've had before? You can help other realtors, you can help other people. Your job is to help. So I decided at that point that I'm going to be a realtor. And I always say this all the time. I had no idea what realtors made. I had to this day, I never watched any H. I believe it or not, I never watched any HGTV shows. I never followed. I never asked my brother-in-law what he made. I just thought as long as my kids didn't suffer from me wanting to pursue something that was good for me, as long as their lifestyle didn't change, that's all that mattered to me. And then you start to realize when you can work and the sky's the limit in a realtor, like it's all dependent on what you do, but but if you fail, it's also all dependent on you too, right? So, but I like as a hockey player, and we notice people that play high level sports do very, very well in real estate because it's a very competitive industry, very competitive. And yeah, so they can hit the ground running, and now
I
I'm
love
here.
that.
So I know it's a long story. Hope you don't mind me talking. If like
It's
this, if you
okay.
ever
Yo,
want to
well,
interject,
I didn't interrupt.
I'm
I
a
was like,
talker, right? Like, oh no, listen, when I was doing my podcast, I had this guy on my podcast, and it was funny because we were trying to say something, and he wouldn't let me talk, and I was like, okay, so we're just
we'll just
right.
keep
So I
going,
just basically
keep
sat.
rolling.
I literally sat like this. I'm like, what do you want me to say?
All good, man.
So I'm hoping that's not happening here. Is
Nah,
what
nah,
I'm
you're good. We're good. I'm just like, hey, man, just taking it all in. So I'm gonna skip a couple of, the third question because you already kind of explained it. But what I do want to shift figuratively, literally, is like, what do you think is the mindset when it comes to mindset and strategies to get you to that level, right? So you spoke about not everyone, unfortunately, is a competitive hockey player or baseball player. So, what do you think is the mindset of someone who's trying to get to that 1%? Like,
So the one thing you have to understand is like with real estate too, like I think a lot of people and every coach will say they'll join to be a realtor because they want freedom. And we laugh. Those of us that are in the industry, that anybody's an entrepreneur, you don't have as much freedom as you think. Like you need to have a schedule. You need to like go to bed early. You need to have a workout schedule. You need to like your whole life is very scheduled. And if you're not like that, you're going to be buried. So what does that mean, right? What does my day look like? Basically, it's like, so you have to have the mentality that you need to be up early in the morning, get your mindset right. And what is that? You have to be physically set and mentally set as well. And a lot of that has to do with, I think it's spiritual. Like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is thank God that I'm alive because I had like a brain surgery. I probably shouldn't have been here. So I thank God every day that I'm alive and I'm thankful for everything I have. And then I do pray with my mom and my buddy, one of my associates. We do read the Bible in the mornings. All that corny, call it what you want to do, but it sets you spiritually as well. So your mindset is full of thankfulness. So this is what helps you along your way. Because if you're open, and I had a coach that said this too, like he would always end a call with three things he would say over and over again. And I don't care if you're spiritual or not, but what it does is it tricks your brain into looking for positive things in life. And what he would say is something awesome is going to happen today. Something awesome is going to happen today. Something awesome is going to happen today. And at 8:30 in the morning, we always got that phone call. So what it does is like it gets you in that mindset. And what it does, it tells your brain you need to be looking for amazing things that are happening because there's so many amazing things. Don't dwell on the negative. Because in our industry, as soon as you start dwelling on the negative, doesn't matter what entrepreneur you are, it's hard to get out of that rut. real estate is a very, very lonely business. You're in your car by yourself, you're putting offers in by yourself. You don't see a lot of people. You're not sure you can go to the office and then you'll see people on TV show, but most of the time, 90% of the time, you're by yourself. So you get your mindset right, you get your spiritual life set right, but you also need to work out. And I don't care if that is a 20-minute walk with your dog outside, you're doing air squats, push-ups, some of that too, because now you're engaging with your body. So why do you do that, right? Because then you have to set up between anywhere between 8:30 and 11:30. You got to start making sales calls. Think about that. If you wake up at 6 a.m. and you've already done this, most of the time people like there's some realtors, honestly, they just go to bed whenever they want. They'll wake up at noon. You're waking up at noon. I've already prayed, I've already worked out, I've already got all my sales calls, my emails are all done, and then I've already done some sales calls before you even open your eyes. So you see how the habits of highly successful people outweigh somebody who just wings it. So that's one of the first thing when I coach everybody, I'm like, you need to wake up early. I know you got in this industry thinking you can wake up and go to bed whenever you want. You're going to get buried. There's 70,000 realtors here in Toronto, and we don't even have that big of a population, right? We have like 6 to 8 million people if you look at the greater Toronto area. This year, we're going to have less than 60,000 sales. We have 70,000 realtors. So you do the math. So if you're the one sleeping until noon, I'm going to take your business. Like, I'm sorry. It's just the way it's going to work. And that's part of the mentality. Like 90% of the business is done by the top 10% of agents in our industry. And that always holds true. Last year, 74% of the agents here in Toronto did not sell a house. 74%. It's a
Wow,
crazy
that's a
stat.
crazy number.
So,
That means a quarter
so
of the realtors have made a sale, right? In that, like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy, right? If you think about it that way. Now, if you go through that mindset, like if you have the mindset, so what you're trying to do in those 3 hours, the reason why you have to make sales calls between 8:30 and 11:30 is the gatekeeper's not there. So what do I mean by that? Like, well, how many times you call somebody, they're at work and they have a secretary? Well, he's doing this, he's doing that. You get beyond that. If you get early in the morning before lunch, everybody's got to sit down. Like they have a couple of minutes for you. And you run with scripts with somebody else. And like you don't want to keep anybody on the phone for too long. You basically want to engage in a conversation to train them from passive to an active participant in your business. And it's something as simple as you and I would have a conversation. I call you and say, we do this whole thing like a 12-second rule. Like I don't talk too long over more than 12 seconds before you say anything because you lose somebody, right? And all you do is something simple as like call you and say, hey, how you doing today? And you respond and you say like, hey, everything's
great,
good. And I
fantastic.
was like, do you have 5 minutes for a business call?
Sure.
Sure. Great. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but like, I tell my new agents, hey, I don't know if you noticed, I just got my license, and I'm working with David Cinelli, like, with Royal LePage. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm like, hey, and then you would say something else like, oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And you're like, great. I'm like, listen, all I want to do is like saying, do you know anybody looking or buying, looking to buy or sell, maybe even rent that you can pass my name on to? And if you're calling people that know who you are, you're not calling somebody random, right? So this is like, and you got to do this at least 5 to 7 people that you know in your database. And there's a schedule we should do, right? Like you're calling these people 4 times a year. We have a schedule every quarter. Um, and what you're doing is you're actively having them participate because they want to help you out. If people like you, they're like, hey man, yeah, sure, I have no this. And even when you get off the phone, like as soon as somebody says real estate, hey man, I might have a link, you'd be surprised. You're not begging for business. What you're doing is you're actively asking them to participate in your success. And people like that, right?
You sound like
So
me,
there's
man.
that. And
You sounds
then
like me. Very similar in the sense that I have a script, mine very similar, and then instead of saying, "Hey, who do you know is looking to sell or buy or sell their home?" It's very similar question. Hey, who do you know that's looking to invest actively or passively
yeah.
in real estate
Yeah,
or
and you did a great job. We had that the phone call
phone
like
call?
off air. You're like, and you know what they've looking. I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, now I'm actually looking for you, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
I have your scripts. If anybody pops in my mind, I'm calling you, right? And it's just, but I like you. We're going to participate in that, and that's the idea. So the other thing is, and I say this, but you can work your ass off, but in our industry, you can also burn out. So you also need to schedule breaks. And that's why we're like, when my coach set up, and I say this, it's very simple. I try and you should set your goals. It's another thing is you need to do set goals, but I do quarterly goals and yearly goals. But you should work for 11 weeks and then take 2 weeks off. You multiply it 4 times, there's 52 weeks. So in that 11 weeks, you're calling your whole database and figuring out making get them active in your brain again. But you'd be surprised. People are like, I got to call these people 4 times. You do it in a way like we had this conversation. You don't say the same stuff over and over again. But like all the times I'll call them, I'm like, now I do it differently because I do a lot of events. So I'm like, hey, you come to my Christmas event. There's gonna be Santa stuff too. Like, hey, if you like while you're there, then you ask people, I'm like, you want to be one by myself? So it's like you get them in there, or you're like,
Exactly.
it's something crazy happened in the market. You know, you talk about the market. Like, have you seen the market stats? Another one we do now is like we set up a database in which you can get automatically emailed sales in your area. So like, and like, so you and I have a conversation. I say, hey man, like, do you want to know what's selling in your area? I'm like, I can set you up like it's a simple system. You just got to go in. It may go to spam, so I'll send you a text. I'll send you a video of what to do and like basically what to look for, and that's it. It just gives you something to talk about, get them active, right? And like, so I always have people say to me in the beginning that they're scared. First of all, I've had millennials are scared of their phone to call people. I'm like, we don't do that. I'm like, I know you don't do that. That's why you got to start doing it because now you got to differentiate yourself from another agent. That is the other piece of advice I would say. Just because there's some things you need to do in this industry that which really help, which like and that'll be the test of like you can still door knock, phone calls, you can doing open houses stuff too. But when it comes to other things, you need to make sure you're different than everybody else. Like, why am I going to choose you over somebody else? So for me, I think it's simple. It's like the people like my personality, but they like my marketing, right? They know how I market properties and stuff. So you got to differentiate yourself. Like figure out back to that thing we talked about what HGTV said. Who is your work character? Like what do you want to pursue? Like what is it? Who are you? Know who you are and then stick with that. So yeah, there's a lot of information there. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in there. But the one thing I say over and the last piece of advice I always say to somebody, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a realtor, whatever you are, like if you're starting your own business, you're working for yourself, you have to market yourself. Nobody's going to go out and get the business for you. You may have the best business in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to make a dollar. And you might be too young for this, but I remember back in the day there was movies used to come out and there was two types of movies that you can watch at home. Remember like there was VHS and beta. Do
That's
you know
right.
those two? Like, yeah.
I was a little too young for beta, but definitely VHS.
Yeah. So when that first happened, there was a whole fight because they didn't want to do movies at home because they thought it would take away from the theater, and that's a different story. But when they first were starting out, yeah, and there was Beta, which was a smaller
Smaller cassette.
cassette,
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, yep.
but it was more efficient, it was fast and better quality. But VHS won that war because they had better marketing. Beta made the mistake saying we have a superior product, we don't have to push. Whereas VHS went on, they were fighting to see like you had to figure out like if there was a movie they would go and they would pitch which movies and VHS just pitched right and paid more money and went after the movie studios and got the better contracts and got the better marketing and that's why Beta is almost like a footnote. No one even knows what it was. And I remember when they first came out, our family was like, "Do we get a VHS or a Beta like a player?" Because my dad's like, "We're not buying both." And we waited to see which ones were coming out. And we saw that the VHS had more options, and that's what we ended up buying to the point that everybody started to do that. That Beta, even though was a superior product, didn't market itself, ended up dying. It's interesting.
Pretty cool. I love that. That's a great analogy there. Hey, hey, question I have for you is, what advice would you give individuals, as you listening to this podcast, as listening as they purchase their first primary residence, how to
Mhm.
think about wearing their investor hat? A lot of folks assume the primary residence, the single family is the way to go, but what tell folks about like the benefits of, let's say, of a triplex or a quadplex. How to
Well, I would
wear
even
their
say that,
investor
like
hat. You know what I mean?
in our industry right now, like there's a huge opportunity. You can buy a condo and it can turn into an investment property. So that's also what we're saying too. Like, so right now, I had a conversation the other day and I was like, so the benefits of being a triplex, we can get into that too. But right now we're in, I don't know about your market, but here in our market, like we're flooded with the amount of condos we have that the prices have dropped in the last 2 years, $100,000 on average. So you can get a condo in like the $500,000 range, which was unheard of. We had 82 months of continuous growth before COVID hit of the condos increasing. So why do I say that as an investment property? Well, especially if you're renting right now, you're paying for my mortgage if you're renting from me. I hate to tell you, 100% of that is interest. Like you don't get anything benefit for the end of the day. But if you're buying a condo, like buy a condo which you know it is easy to rent. And that's like, so especially your investment. So you can get first time home buyer, land transfer tax, you get rebates, and you have help. You don't have to put 20% down, especially if it's under 1.5 million. But if you, the more money you can put down, it's like you got to look at cash flow. So what you can do with that. So if you're buying at a like a lower state right now, or a property with a lower, we know the market's going to go up in 2027. We already know that's all the predictions. 2026, the condo market's going to kind of level off and it's going to go up. Once that money, if you're going to think about renting for the next couple of years anyway, you might as well buy a condo and say like, listen, like one bedroom plus dens are the easiest ones to rent out, easiest ones. If you buy, you can, and with parking or without parking, you don't even need parking if you're in downtown Toronto. So you don't even have to spend the money on that. So say you buy something for 550 and like what's going to happen is like you're living there, you're paying down the mortgage, your cash flow is going to get better. When the market starts to go up, you can use that property and use the equity and pull that equity and buy something else. Maybe you want to buy a triplex. Maybe you want to buy like, but you can turn a condo into an investment property as long as you have the mindset. Now, you also said another good question. What about a triplex? And I said, like, I always say, if you're going to buy an investment property that you could or could not live in, I always like a triplex as your first investment property. And people go, why is that? Because we're not, the problem with
Why is
buying a
that? Why is
condo,
that?
well, it's a great question you asked. You're a
I
smart
love
man.
it.
Well, think about it. If you buy a house, just a house with just a single dwelling home, whether it's a semi or it's a townhouse or it's a detached home or it's a condo, if you don't rent out that property, you lose cash flow the whole month. You're gone. A triplex, you can have two, say we have, so a triplex is like 3 units. And technically here in Toronto, I don't know if you guys are the same there. A triplex is actually, you can have what's above grade. So you can actually have 4 units. One can be the basement and triplex is three above, right? So let's just say it's 3 units. Well, say you want to renovate to make more money on one of them. You can have one of them vacant, the other two giving you cash flow. So you're not out of pocket the whole amount. So you can renovate a property and then bring in a tenant that's going to earn you more money. And then when one of those other two leaves, you can do repeat, repeat. So you constantly have cash flow coming in and paying for you. And if you want to live in one, you can do that as well. You can live in one, maybe take the shittiest one, excuse my language, take the shittiest one, rent out the other two. And when those other guys move, right? You can pop into one of the nicer ones, renovate the one you were living in, and do and when the cash flow is better, and let the equity build. Now, equity, as long as you're, the thing is, if you, we use HELOCs. You guys have
Yeah,
HELOCs
we
around the
have
States.
HELOCs. Yep. Home equity
Yeah.
line of credit. Yep. Yep, man.
So if you don't know what a HELOC is, guys, what a HELOC is home equity line of credit. So if you purchase a property, like if the value, say you bought something $1 million, right? And you have a mortgage of $800,000. Well, if your property goes up, you can access 80% above whatever it's going to be. So actually, let's make it simple. So say your property is worth $1 million, you have a bank, 80% that you're allowed to borrow from the bank, which is up to 80,000, $800,000. Well, if your mortgage is $700,000, they can give you a line of credit, which is secured by the home, which means like it's on title. It's like a little mortgage. And if you have $100,000, it's like a line of credit. You only pay interest on what you use and you can pay it down. You can use it. It's like, again, it's a line of credit. Though the cool thing about having a home equity line of credit is, at least here, I think you guys are the same thing. All the interest, 100% of the interest is of an investment property that you're using of that interest you're borrowing is 100% deductible at tax time. So it's tax deductible. So if you borrowed $100,000 and it costs you $10,000 in interest, if you're making $100,000 a year, you automatically get dropped from $100,000. You minus that $10,000 used in interest and your personal income. Now you're down to $90,000. You're paying less tax. That's how it works. It's a write-off, right? That's how it works. So that's why I love triplexes as well, because they can also go up in value. And depending on, when you're purchasing, if you buy a shitty one, again, I use that word. If you buy one that needs renovation, the sky's the limit for you guys. It's because you can add value. And if you're handy, like I'm not handy anymore. Like I can do stuff, but my wife is now probably handier than I do. Most of the stuff she puts beds together and stuff, hangs stuff every day. So she got pretty good at she works the drill better than I. She steals my drills and all my tools and uses them now. I think she uses them better than I do. But anyway, but if you're handy and you can actually do the stuff yourself, you have the time to do that. You could save a ton of money as well by doing the stuff yourself. Now I hire contractors because I have another job, but if it's something you like to do, you can, if you already are in the trades, that can really help you as well. So you can add value by adding value to your property. So that's two ways. If you buy it, like especially if the market is lower and you look at, if you're looking at a property which some people don't want to touch, that's when you might be like, that's what can we do with this property? So it's yeah, there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate.
I love it. I love it, man. We're winding down on time. So, what final advice would you give? I guess realtors, no matter what, U.S., Canada, doesn't matter.
Well, the first thing I would say is like you gotta love if you're going to become a real estate agent, it's a lot of competition we talked about earlier. It doesn't matter what industry, there's a lot of competition out there. You have to love what you do. If you're motivated by money, go do something else. Like it just because you'll notice right away in our industry here, and it's like anything else, within 2 years, 90% of realtors fail, right? It's just, I don't know if it's 90%, but it's a large percentage of realtors fail because it's not what they expected. Now, the second thing is again, it is a lonely business. So what I would do is have a good group of people around you. It matters what brokerage you start with. Go to a brokerage that is there to basically be your business partner. They're there to help you grow. They're going to give you coaches. They maybe set you up with a team. Third thing is I would say is exactly what I said there. Like I didn't use the team's mentality, but I hired a coach. But if you have to do one of three things, either well, you have to join a team, I would say that because they can mentor you, get a mentor, right? Or like I said, like get a coach. And the reason why is like you're not reinventing the wheel. They will tell you in the beginning what you should be and should not be doing because they've already gone through this, right? Like you're not joining an industry which is brand new. Like they'll teach you that like all the basics. And that's it. If you have a brokerage and say like a coach and they teach you the basics, they teach you different things, it's huge. It's huge. And you'll also, we said this earlier before, don't forget, you have to market yourself. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to do it for you. You can't just put a Facebook ad on the online saying like, "Oh, everyone's going to start calling me." No, no, no. You got to go out. You got to meet people. Try to meet a new person every day. And it gets. My wife laughs at me because I think everybody in the world within the first couple of minutes knows I'm a realtor. Just well, it's my job, right? It's like, hey, Dave Cinelli, how you doing? I work for other people. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Like it's.
Right.
But I also love what I do. So if you have the love and you have the discipline and you can do those things, you can do really good things in this industry.
I love it. Where can people find more information about you?
The best thing to do is if you want to follow me, like it's Instagram, because Instagram has my link tree there, and I guess TikTok as well. But if you go to David V Cinelli underscore realtor, so it's David David V as in Victor, actually Vincent, and then my last name is spelled Cinelli underscore realtor. If you go there, you can check like all my YouTube stuff, my videos. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best way. And if you DM me, I do answer back. I do have an assistant. She does my postings most of the time. I do like lots of, and I do if you're not Canadian, like you might find the humor in how I don't like our government. So if you like that or not. And I love my conspiracy theories. That's the other thing.
Sure, sure,
But
sure.
I actually do answer back with my DMs. My assistant does it.
I love it. I love it, man. David, thank you so much. I enjoyed our fantastic conversation, and I would say 99.
Hopefully, I didn't talk too much.
That was good. It was good.
I got a lot to say, man. We can go for like 2 more hours. I can just keep going.
That's why I had an internal clock. I was like, oh, we got to wrap this up.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, David. Thank you so much, David Cinelli. Right? I said it
Yeah,
right. I said
I
it
would say
right, didn't
Sinelli or Chelly, but either way is okay with me.
David Cinelli, everybody. Thank you so much, man.
Ciao.
Hi, everybody. Dr. B here, Dr. B Uncensored. Hopefully, you enjoyed that episode. Remember, you are one big deal away. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel now. Take care.